Good morning and welcome to the trade setup right here on BQ Prime. I'm Neeraj Shah, and there's stability, if you will, and I think that's what we got to take heart from, if you will. Commodities are coming off a little bit, falling below key technical levels, and all of that should augur well from a sentiment perspective. First, the global news flow, and then move on to the local news flow as well. So, uh, the, one of the Fed members, Bowman, backs raising rates 75 basis points in July. I think Fed via this way and some selected leaks prepares markets for what is due to come so that there's no negative surprise. It's done it in the past. I think this is one more pattern. 10-year yields fell at a point of time to 3% as the recession fears ruled. Slipped further, now trading near 6-week lows. And Ukraine has won a crucial nod on the long path to EU membership. So lots happened on the geopolitical front and the commodities front. Now, US markets, by virtue of all that happened, and quite unlike the European markets, did well. So 1.62% for the Nasdaq, S&P 500 up 1%. Europe had a tough day. US has done reasonably okay, and that is the set of cues that I think the Indian markets could and the Asian markets are following, and the Indian markets could follow. Some of the other cues, if you just flip the plate and look at some of the high-flying indicators. So Bitcoin now up 3% at 21,000. US 10-year yield just around at 3.09. The dollar index 104. So all things for now look okay. And the SGX Nifty should be indicating a start in the green. I wouldn't be surprised. And the market breadth as of yesterday should have been positive, and I wouldn't be surprised with that either. So both these indicators will come up on your screen. SGX Nifty in the green. The market breadth will come up on your screen next, and this is as of yesterday's trade. But I won't be surprised if there was positivity there. And a bunch of stocks did really well, led by autos, of course. Yeah, look at that list, right? This is Nifty 500 or an SE 500, and still the 3 auto large caps are a part of the top 7 list, right? Maruti, Hero, Eicher. Tells you a story of two about how the auto index is starting to make its presence felt after having a lull, not just for the last 1-2 years, but probably for the last 5 years. Now, what's the trade setup? I mean, I think currently the index seems to be attempting a pullback move within a corrective phase. And I think that's the best way to describe this. Now, I don't understand charts as much, but I speak to people, I read people's notes, and on the back of that, the one thing that stood out from a technical perspective was that the 20 DEMA around 15,800 and a 50% retracement back is around 16,000. So can the 50% retracement take us all the way back to 16,000? I think that's the key question in most people's minds, and some people are betting on that as well. Remains to be seen. Like I said, most very large investors are actually waiting for a rally to go short on. So they're not trying to play this up move via an index play, more like waiting for the rally to get exhausted before they initiate shorts. Who knows who is right, of course. There was hectic buying seen in IT, automobile, and realty stocks on Thursday, and very likely all of these will remain in focus today as well. The outlook by Accenture, and I thought was, I'm not saying it was, okay, let me rephrase. You would argue that it is still a strong outlook, but it is lower than what the street was working with or what was anticipated. And that's why I think Accenture too slipped in trade yesterday. Be interesting to see the impact on Indian IT stocks. So, okay, let's tell you what Accenture did, right? And then the brokerage view out there as well, because those are the set of stocks that people will be watching out for today. So IT stocks, Accenture, the fourth quarter revenue forecast was below the consensus view. Keep that in mind. It narrowed its EPS guidance for the full year, and Accenture has noted a foreign exchange related headwind. So keep that at the back of your mind. What is CLSA saying about the read through from Accenture's earnings? They are saying that the 3-quarter results underscored the continued demand strength, and the near term picture is strong. And they therefore expect the India listed players to report similar demand strength in the first quarter FY23 numbers, which will get released in the month of July. But as was the case with Accenture, cross currency will likely be an optical dampener for the Indian companies as well. Also, investors' focus will be on margin management after what's happened in 4Q, wherein most companies had some chinks in the armor, right? So CLSA believes that they want to maintain the preference for Infosys, TCS, and HCL Tech. I think Nomura is saying that they like TCS and HCL Tech. Somebody else is saying something else, but largely, most people are focused on large cap IT. However, if you, for example, hear the conversation that we had with Piper Serica's Abhay Agarwal, he said that he's a preference for select mid-cap names as well, select ERD companies as well. So it's a mixed bag out there, to each their own. But largely on the sell side, you hear some murmurs around large caps and not necessarily mid caps. Now, Hindustan Copper and Vedanta in focus. Copper miners in the US had retreated because of recession fears dragging down the commodity. Remember, the copper prices fell, I think, as much as 5%, not necessarily just 4.1%, which marked the base metal's worst intraday decline since May, as it heads to its lowest price since Feb 2021. Commodities are getting clobbered, and therefore related stocks might also get clobbered. Now, in the case of Vedanta, though, viewers, the other thing to watch out for is that if indeed they do some bit of a semiconductor manufacturing tie-up with a global company, then that might actually help Vedanta too. So be mindful of that. But largely, I think base metal stocks might continue to remain under pressure largely, or metal stocks in general maybe. At some point of time, they'll bounce back too. There's been a sharp fall as well. So I'm no one to say when will that happen. But for now, because the base commodities are coming off, you'd probably expect the pressure to remain. Some other stocks in news include an ONGC, wherein ONGC Videsh has announced a new discovery in Colombia, and Page Industries, wherein the promoter directors have sold shares worth 397 crores, about 0.75% in the month of June 2022. I think Suresh Jinomal and some others have been reported yesterday. So watch out for that as well. I'm not saying that necessarily means the stock will correct. If it corrects, you know why it is correcting. There has been some changes made by Chris Wood in the Greed and Fear portfolio as well. So the investment in ICICI Prudential Life Insurance will be increased at the cost of ICICI Lombard General Insurance in case these stocks correct. Motilal Oswal is a note on Tube investment, initiating with a buy, a target price of 1900. They believe there are multiple things working, a sound framework, 25% PAT CAGR. So lots working for this one, according to Motilal Oswal. Trades at about 25 times, 20 times for a 25% growth number, according to Motilal. So that's why they kind of like it. A sedate stock most times. Do research. You won't find too many bad things with this one per se, maybe except valuations and the earnings estimates that you may have. But yeah, this is the Motilal view, and an interesting one. It'll be there on our research report section, by the way, this note as well, in case you want to read more about it. There are some queries. Excuse me, viewers, I should have brought out that brokerage notes on RBL and IDFC First Bank, because those were the questions yesterday. We'll try and do that on Monday for sure, and give you some idea about those two in particular. I mean, I don't have a view, but I can get you the best brokerage reactions on those. So we'll try and do that on Monday. Any other queries, of course, please put them out and we'll try and answer some of those. Last but not the least, viewers, keep in mind, amongst other good things, we've spoken about the free trade agreements with Australia, EU, Middle East, and conversations with other parties keeps on continuing, right? So Prime Minister Modi, after a meeting with Foxconn, has put out a tweet, did put out a tweet yesterday saying that he's welcoming the Foxconn plans for expanding electronic manufacturing capacity in India, including in semiconductors. So India is rolling out the red carpet to select parties, not to Tesla, but of course, rightly so, but a lot of other parties, and that should probably boost the manufacturing capabilities of the country in more ways than one over this decade. It should actually augur well from an India perspective. So be mindful of that. Thanks so much for tuning in to the trade setup. Have a safe day ahead. Watch out for autos, watch out for IT. Those are the two pockets specifically in focus. And of course, metals, and whether they continue or whether they keep on getting disrupted in the session today, because the base metals across the world overnight have certainly come off. Actually, commodities coming off is great news for India. So keep that from a market's perspective. Commodities and crude coming off helps inflation in a big way, in reducing inflation, and that might actually be construed very, very positively.